Stop scrolling. Because this is not your average food market, and if you think a grocery trip is just grabbing some vegetables and going home, Guangzhou is about to completely change your mind. Today we are walking into one of the city's busiest traditional markets, and within a few minutes we are going to see seafood, fresh meat, Chinese sausages, noodles, herbs, frogs, and some things that might make your American grocery store look extremely boring. And yes, I said frogs. So grab your imaginary shopping cart, because this market is about to get wild. We are starting right at the entrance, and you can already feel the energy. People are moving everywhere. Vendors are calling out prices. Scooters are squeezing through tiny spaces, and every corner has something happening. This is the kind of place where you do not really walk. You negotiate your way through the crowd, and look at the seafood section. Everything is packed close together because apparently Guangzhou's markets did not get the memo about giving shoppers personal space. You have tanks, trays, buckets, and fresh ingredients everywhere. If it can swim, crawl, jump, or make you nervous, there is a good chance somebody here is selling it. The first thing I love about these markets is how fresh everything looks. You are not staring at a picture on a package and wondering when the food was made. You can actually see the ingredients before they become dinner. And then we reach the snack section. Now this is where my self-control starts having serious problems. Look at all these fried and baked treats. Everything is golden, crispy, and basically screaming, "You are not planning to diet today anyway." Some of these snacks look familiar, while others are impossible to identify without asking the vendor. And honestly, that is half the fun. You walk past one tray thinking, okay, I know what that is. Then you see the next tray and suddenly your brain needs a software update. There are sweets, pastries, crunchy snacks, dried foods, and all kinds of little bites. In the United States, we might call this the snack aisle. Here, it feels more like the snack aisle decided to take over the entire neighborhood. Now we are moving deeper into the market, and the smell changes completely. You start getting that unmistakable aroma of cooked meat, spices, dried seafood, and Chinese barbecue. And this is where things get serious. Take a look at these hanging meats. The colors, the shapes, the textures. Some are dried, some are smoked, and some are prepared with a mix of spices that gives them that classic Cantonese flavor. You can almost imagine someone taking this home, slicing it into thin pieces, putting it over rice, and suddenly turning a simple dinner into something that smells like it came from a restaurant. And then there are the famous Cantonese cured meats. If you are watching from the United States, you might see these hanging sausages and think, okay, sausage, I understand. But Cantonese-style cured sausage has its own personality. It is sweet, savory, aromatic, and incredibly popular in local cooking. This market is also a reminder that food culture is built around ingredients. Before a dish reaches a restaurant table, somebody has to choose the fish, select the meat, buy the herbs, pick the vegetables, and decide which ingredients are fresh enough for dinner. And that entire process is happening right here. Now look at this seafood. The variety is almost ridiculous. There are fish, shellfish, shrimp, and other sea creatures packed into the displays. Some are sitting on ice. Others are swimming in tanks. The idea is simple. Pick what you want, and the vendor prepares it for you. That is a very different shopping experience from walking into a supermarket, grabbing a plastic package, and checking the expiration date. Here, the ingredient is right in front of you. And if you are the kind of person who gets nervous around seafood, well, this might be your personal horror movie. Because some of these creatures are looking back. You know the food is fresh when your dinner still has opinions. Now we reach one of the most eye-catching parts of the market. The frogs. Yes, actual frogs. For many American viewers, this is probably the moment when the grocery tour takes an unexpected turn. But frogs are used in various Chinese dishes, and in parts of China, they are a familiar ingredient. The market is not trying to make food look glamorous. It is showing you the ingredient exactly as it is. And that is one of the interesting things about traditional markets. They can be much more direct than modern supermarkets. You see the animal, the cuts of meat, the seafood, the herbs, and the preparation process. Nothing is hidden behind fancy packaging.
Now we are heading back into the seafood area, and the market gets busy again. Look at the amount of fish, different sizes, different shapes, different textures. Some are familiar, and some make you stop and think, okay, what exactly am I looking at? That is when you realize how large the seafood culture is in southern China. Guangzhou is close to the coast, and seafood plays a major role in Cantonese cuisine. The cooking philosophy often emphasizes freshness and allowing the main ingredient to speak for itself. That means the quality of the fish matters. The quality of the shrimp matters. The freshness of the vegetables matters. And the market is where that quality starts. Now we have another interesting display of meat and prepared ingredients. You can see how efficiently the vendors work. There is no dramatic presentation. No fancy restaurant plating. Just ingredients, knives, scales, bags, and customers. And somehow that makes it even more fascinating. Because this is what food looks like before it becomes Instagram food. This is the backstage. The part most people never see. The restaurant meal may look beautiful on a plate, but someone had to stand in a market like this first and choose the ingredients. And sometimes the best food stories start there. Now we are getting close to the final part of our market walk. At this point, we have seen enough seafood to open an aquarium, enough meat to feed a football team, enough snacks to destroy a diet, and enough herbs to make your kitchen smell like a traditional medicine shop. And somehow we are still finding new things. That is the magic of a giant traditional market. You think you have seen everything. Then you turn one corner, boom, another stall, another ingredient, another smell, another food you cannot pronounce, and another reason to ask, how much is that? One thing that really stands out is the relationship between vendors and customers. This is everyday commerce. People are not walking around just for entertainment. They are buying ingredients for lunch, dinner, family meals, restaurants, and probably tomorrow's breakfast. The market is part of daily life. And that is why the experience feels so different from a tourist attraction. You are seeing a real part of the city. You are seeing people shop, work, cook, and eat. Now let's take one last look around. The seafood is still moving. The vendors are still cutting. The customers are still shopping. The noodle stalls are still working, and the snack displays are still trying to convince me that calories are just a suggestion. If you ever visit Guangzhou, a traditional market like this gives you a completely different way to understand the city. You do not need a fancy restaurant. You do not need an expensive food tour. Sometimes, you just need to walk through a local market and pay attention, because food tells you a lot about a place. It tells you what people grow, what they catch, what they preserve, what they cook, what they celebrate, and what they eat every day, from Cantonese cured meats to fresh seafood, from noodles to herbs, from vegetables to unusual ingredients. This market shows just how wide Chinese food culture really is. And the funniest part is that we probably still have not seen everything. There are always more stalls, more dishes, more ingredients, more things, hiding around the next corner. So if you came here expecting a quiet grocery shopping trip, congratulations, you just survived a Guangzhou food market. And if your reaction to the frogs, seafood, herbs, and mystery ingredients was, "I would try that," then congratulations again. You are officially more adventurous than I am. But that is what makes food travel so much fun. You do not have to love every ingredient. You do not even have to recognize everything. You just have to be curious, because somewhere between the crowded aisles, the sizzling snacks, the fresh seafood, the noodles, and the old-school market stalls, you get a real look at everyday life in Guangzhou. And honestly, that is worth more than any postcard. So before we leave, remember one thing. The next time somebody says grocery shopping is boring, show them this market. Then ask them if their supermarket has live seafood, bamboo pole noodles, giant piles of herbs, cured meats hanging from the ceiling, and frogs waiting for dinner. Yet I didn't think so either. This was Guangzhou from the market floor, one stall at a time. And now, after all that food, I think we have earned the most important part of the entire trip, finding something to eat. Then we move past more fresh meat, and once again, the market feels like a completely different world. There are workers cutting, weighing, cleaning, packing, and preparing ingredients while customers wait. Everyone seems to know exactly what they want. Meanwhile, I would probably be standing there for 10 minutes trying to figure out what half the things are. This is also where you notice how skilled the vendors are. Cutting meat quickly and accurately is not something you casually learn on a Tuesday afternoon. These people do it all day, and the knives are moving fast, very fast. So if you ever thought chopping vegetables at home made you a professional chef, watching this market might humble you a little. Now we are entering another fascinating section, live seafood. Look closely at the tanks. You have fish swimming around, shellfish sitting in water, and different creatures waiting for their turn to become somebody's dinner. It is almost like a tiny underwater supermarket. And I love the fact that customers can choose exactly what they want. Bigger fish, smaller fish, a certain type of shellfish, whatever fits the meal. Freshness is not just a marketing word here. It is part of the shopping experience. And then we get to some of the more unusual ingredients. There are creatures here that many viewers might never expect to see in a regular market. Some are used in traditional cooking, while others are connected to regional food culture. This is the kind of footage that makes you realize how different food traditions can be. We all eat, but what we consider normal food depends heavily on where we grow up. One person sees a delicious local ingredient, Another person sees a creature and immediately starts looking for the exit. And that is exactly why traveling through food markets is so interesting. You are not just seeing food. You are seeing culture. Now let's talk about price. This market is known for offering a huge range of ingredients at local market prices, and you can see why people come here for everyday shopping. The displays are packed, the competition is intense, and customers can compare different vendors. It feels practical. This is not a luxury food hall designed for tourists taking pictures of one tiny dessert. This is a working market. People are here because they need dinner, and that makes the atmosphere much more authentic. You see families shopping, workers preparing orders, customers checking prices, and vendors constantly serving the next person. It is organized chaos. But somehow, everyone knows what they are doing. Now we are moving toward the noodle section, and this is where I would personally start making dangerous decisions. Because fresh noodles are impossible to ignore. Point one famous Cantonese style is bamboo pole noodles, often called zhusheng noodles. Traditionally, the dough is worked using a bamboo pole, creating a distinctive texture. Imagine making noodles and deciding, you know what this needs? A giant bamboo pole. And somehow it works. The result is a springy noodle that can be used in soups, stir-fries, and other Cantonese dishes. This is one of those foods that looks simple until you realize how much technique goes into making it. Flour, water, time, skill, and a bamboo pole. Meanwhile, I can barely make instant noodles without making a mess. Now look at the fresh vegetables. The colors change again. Greens, roots, mushrooms, peppers, herbs, and piles of produce fill the stalls. There is something satisfying about seeing vegetables displayed in huge quantities instead of sitting inside perfectly identical plastic bags. You can see the texture, you can smell the herbs, you can pick the exact amount you want. And then there are the mushrooms. Some look familiar, others look like they belong in a fantasy video game. But mushrooms are a huge part of Chinese cooking, and markets like this offer many varieties that you may not normally find in an American supermarket. Then we reach one of my favorite sections, traditional Chinese herbs. And this place looks like a mixture of a food market and a chemistry lab created by your grandmother. There are dried roots, leaves, seeds, mushrooms, flowers, and other ingredients arranged in bags, boxes, and containers. Some of these ingredients are used in cooking. Others are associated with traditional Chinese herbal practices. The visual variety is incredible. You can spend several minutes here and still feel like you have only looked at one shelf. And the smell is completely different from the seafood section. That is another thing about this market. Every few steps, your nose gets a new update. Seafood, meat, spices, herbs, fried snacks, fresh vegetables. Your brain is basically trying to process an entire restaurant menu at once.